fine to just be us sitting here BSing. By the way, thanks Meef for joining us, as well as following my channel.
Yeah, dude, I'm kind of a big deal, so
I know
thanks for setting all this up for me.
you are our guest. You are our Keanu Reeves for the day.
Those are some big shoes. I don't know if I can fill that.
Yeah, he's actually pretty tall. So on the screen here, I have the patch notes. The patch notes, like I sent Driz an itinerary, but it's really just the fact that we both derail. It's not hard for us to go off topic and start going on. The literal reason that I wrote that wasn't to like be a stickler. I don't want to make it sound like that. I just wanted to be like, okay, we're done talking about like hentai girls and shit. We need to get back on topic. And, maybe
It's all good. All roads lead back to Cyclone Minions, so
Cyclone Minions. Oh God, I'm not looking forward to.
Hey, we need an Aussie in here yelling at War Thunder.
Oh God, please no. I just want to keep the focus on at least keep the focus on the game we're talking about. Like I got no problem with anybody and anything, but yeah.
He just didn't understand the assignment.
No. So I thought we'd start with just kind of going through some of the shit on the patch notes. Not much has changed. I know at the very bottom here there was some Q&A, like facts. Basically, they tried to make sure people understood certain things. One thing that stood out, probably an important thing that stood out, was that we get our transfigured gems from the new divine font. All the shit's gone. We don't have enchantments or anything. At first, it said the divine font at the end of the eternal labyrinth, but then they changed it to just say labyrinth. So the whole point is they're trying to let you know, from what I'm gathering here, is that we can actually get transfigured gems as early as the original, like level 33 lab. So that's important because a lot of people are going to want to experiment this league, and telling them they can't do it until they get the fucking max level, probably not fun. And the fact that Eternal Labyrinth isn't fun to run anyway. At least I don't think it is. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, it's I don't know. For me, I never really build around trying to play the lab, so whenever I go in and fail it, it's always a harder hit than if I had a character that was designed to actually live and repeatedly run it. I'm not big on farming the helm enchants. Like it's easier just to put that in like a lab runner on TFT, and just if you need to get a specific chant done on a helmet that you currently have, or just waiting till someone gets it done and just buy the base for a bit more than what you might normally pay for it.
Yeah, not only that, one of the other, in the same vein as not wanting to run the Eternal Labyrinth, another problem that I always have is that, I'll get to a point where I have to run it, and then I'll do it, but I'll have nothing else to enchant, and something nice will be on the enchantment font. It's like, oh, good, I didn't bring a helmet worth putting anything on. So it's like, now I just wasted this enchant. I'm going to have to put it on a fucking like gold rim or some shit.
Yeah, it's it's kind of like a preload for currency that you need to do something like that. Like when you're specifically lab enchanting, you have to have so much in the bank already. Like you could always, I forget what the name of the helm is, but there's that common one that people would always have just as blinks just in case they get something that they can just, if the enchant is that good, that it really doesn't matter too much what base it's on. But yeah, you need a lot of specific, sometimes expensive, higher tier items at the start of a league to really get a payout for that, and it's a lot of upfront cost for a lot of waiting for your item to sell. And it kind of like, unless you're really locked into running labs, like that's what you're going to do for money, it's something that I just typically avoid.
Yeah, I think we're all in the same boat when it comes to that. Good riddance. But now we got to farm it for fucking gems.
Well,
yeah.
With this, if gems don't have an intrinsic rarity except for Empower and those 3. So we shouldn't have a rarity on skill gems except for usage. But like if I want Raise Zombie of Falling, it should be easy to go fetch one, just like you would with Evolve Haste. You don't have to run the corrupted side zones. Just go buy a Raise Zombie of Falling for
Whoops.
What the hell was that?
My entry.
Enjoyable. Who's that? Who is that? Domo. What's up, Domo?
I had to look. I'm like, what?
I can't see anybody in Discord because I have to have that max screen for our 2 cameras, so I can't see regular Discord.
If you're single PC, you could have your overlay.
Oh, well,
from Discord.
Oh yeah, I could do that. No, it's a little late for that. I'm good. I just had to go into OBS though because I was freeze framed in a really awkward half smile on Twitch, so I looked like I was.
Why did it do that? Because it did that earlier. Oh, it freezes you when someone joins.
Yeah, it did that before. It should be fine now. Everything looks good. I have my Discord, or not Discord, but I have stream on my center monitor so that way I can pay attention and make sure I catch anybody coming in. And then I have my third screen, which has all the information coming up. I wanted to go to some of the things. Obviously, we have the Affliction League itself. Anybody here got any opinions on what we're gonna deal with here with the new ascendancies and what have you?
Options. There's not going to be the cool thing about with all these changes. It's such a meta shakeup that there's not going to be a meta for a long time. Like there's going to be cool hot builds that come out, but I expect for for the rest of this league at least, that there's always going to be some new cool hotness coming out that people are going to be like, this is the most busted thing that you can do with these specific things, and there's always going to be something that's coming out new that's going to be better than that. So I guess better is a relative term. It all depends on the content you're trying to do or what your goals are, but name of the game is options. With all the changes to the gems, there's not going to be, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a wrong choice. Like, I think it's going to make the ease of access for farming content a lot more accessible to a lot of people. And, the things that people are looking out for, like the ultimatum, is to see how big the rewards are for that too. I'd imagine it could be quite substantial. I mean, if you look at Sanctum over the past 2 seasons or 2 leagues, it's been out of this world.
Yeah, I could see that. I'm hoping that it's not too inflated, though. I don't want another. Last league was very inflated. I didn't really care for that. But
yeah,
again,
a big concern or a big reason for that was Sanctum, just because it was just so. There was just so much power coming out of Sanctum for currency that it really made a lot of the other content farming trivial. So I don't know, with as powerful as some of these builds are going to be doing, like people running 60% delirium with a lot of just even like baseline skills, I think is going to be more accessible to a lot of people. So whether people like delirium or not, that's just like a benchmark of where builds are going to be at in their power and clear speed. So like I said, there's not going to be like a wrong thing to do. It's going to be whatever you enjoy playing is going to find its own way and there's going to be something for you to do within your wheelhouse. Yeah. So I think overall it's going to be a great change. And I'm glad to see that Sanctum is getting nerfed, because there shouldn't be the one go-to farm thing that everybody does, and if you're not doing it, you're wrong. Yeah. If you look at things like even Harvest, for example, there's different ways to do it. You can go in and just do like your normal harvest wheel, or I can't remember the name of the node that people go to, but it completely changes the way that harvest functions to where, you're sacrificing certain plots to juice your other plots to make it more likely that you're going to see the end game bosses, which is really cool. So it's kind of like the big payout to reward style. And, if people want more of a consistent style of farming, they're going to have it. If they want to go more high risk, high reward, they're going to have a lot of different options across a bunch of different league mechanics, which is really great. And I don't like, for the 3 people that played Metamorph, sorry, but this is a good change.
Yeah.
What if 33% of those people are in stream right now?
They might be.
Oh my god, that one person.
Thank God Cyclone Minions wasn't hit too hard, so we,
Yeah. I'm glad to see Metamorph was kind of a mechanic that again didn't get utilized a lot. It's funny. I always reference Lighty Gaming, the guy that's collecting all the uniques. He actually hit 835 metamorphs. So like going to Tane's laboratory and killing the boss, he had to do 835 ish before he got his first metamorph unique, and they're not even that rare.
Is that the only way to get Metamorph unique, or do they also drop in maps from the Metamorphs?
It was only from the Metamorph in Tane's laboratory. You had to put together all uniques and do that fight, and it took him forever just to get the first one, and because of that, because he had gotten so many, somebody had made that Metamorph card, which is like a stack of 5 turns in for a Metamorph unique. He refused to turn that in because he was feeling it was be unethical to do all those and then just screw it. I'll do a div card. He did the div cards after he got his first unique and still didn't get all 4 of them. But those are now becoming standard. They're just going to be in the normal drop pool now. So Metamorph uniques are going to be easy to obtain, and they're not terrible either. So some of them have some unique properties. But any opinions on the shakeup here, Driz?
The shake?
The shakeup of the gems and the meta.
The Cyclone. It is kind of annoying that we're waiting until 35 to start all the new. So they said over 100 transfigured gems. Does that mean some skills aren't getting any transfigured alternative versions?
Yeah, according to the last page, they just released page 5 of the transfigured gems, and they said in that, actually, I'll bring it up right now. Page 5. I'll zoom in so everybody can see. That concludes our transfigured gem previews for Path of Exile Affliction. If you haven't seen a preview of your favorite skill gem, keep your eyes peeled for future expansions. We're sorry if we didn't get to your gem.
Oh, wow. I thought that would be like, that's all we're deciding to preview. But no, that's it.
Yeah, what this did though, and this is just my opinion of in regards to this shakeup, they basically made themselves the ability, or created themselves an ability to release new skills for multiple expansions or patches by just making transfigured gems now.
Mm-hmm.
So all the ones you didn't see get changed.
Any ideas they might have had in the past, like, hey guys, I want to make something where summoner can animate their own like primary weapon, and somebody's like, well, we already have animate weapon, so that's kind of dumb. But now it's like, oh, you're right, we do already have animate weapon, so we're gonna make that a transfigured.
Well, that's
what they did.
That they actually made transfigured of your own weapon, so which I think I linked to you.
You did. That so that kind of seals it. I'm definitely expecting to see animate build with the AG build and the animate weapon build, and maybe even the chains chest piece, and it would be a no button build for mapping.
It's a possibility.
You start it because the chains, when one gets a kill, when your AG gets a kill, it animates weapons. And I think it's when animate weapons get a kill, they refresh it or something like that.
Yeah, I think
command.
I think that's one of the. Oh, go ahead.
Trigger level 20 animate guardian's weapon. When animate guardian kills an enemy, 10% chance to trigger level 18 animate guardian's weapon when animate weapon kills an enemy. Animate guardian deals increased damage per animate weapon, and all your animated minions splash. And you cannot have non-animated weapons. So the AG triggers his own AW, and then you can also have AW. And your AW shouldn't have any effect on AGW. I've never used Chains of Command, but that's what that looks like. When AG gets a kill, he animates his own weapons. Which means if you're putting like a 10 div weapon on your AG and he's going around divine smiting everything, if it is divine smite and not smite, that means it's going to have its own aura, which means you can also just run around smiting things for more massive flat added lightning damage.
I'm pretty sure the new anime Guardian is divine. I think it is divine,
It says divine smite, which we've never seen before, right?
which is on another page. Divine smite is actually
Oh, it's a transfigured.
yeah.
Go figured. So
I don't
is it,
remember
is
what
it
page
under
it's on.
D or S? I need to have
remember.
these all these pages open.
Yeah, I have them open for us, but I don't remember. I know page 3 was mainly the
Never
minions.
thought of it. It should be S for smite. And minions isn't intrinsically or even at all a minion. I'm sorry, smite isn't a minion ability.
Yeah, the pages 1 through 5 they're all in alphabetical order, but there's some page that I think is kind of out of order. So it's always from left to right, alphabetical order of what you're trying to find.
Right. There's divine ire.
I know I saw the smite, divine smite. I know I saw it somewhere. I don't remember where it was though.
Well,
But
yeah, smite of divine judgment. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. That
You
should
are
be
correct. So that's a transfigured smite. So you don't run smite. Your AG runs smite.
Yep. Yeah, and it's
Which
should be whatever that description is, whatever that the stats are on that. Well, bearing whatever they decide to fuck with, but
I don't know if it's worth it. But you could run the necro or the minion gloves to convert all physical to lightning, and then you'd be a lightning minion build because your AG is already doing 50% lightning damage, and you're adding a bunch of flat lightning damage with smite.
I actually saw, I think it was Gazzy.
Wait a second. Wait a second. Divine Judgment doesn't give the buff.
Oh.
That's never mind. It's just a really hard hitting smite.
What page is this on?
3.
3?
Top row.
Oh, there it is.
So you could run smite, but that's kind of dumb.
Well,
it
what
just
is
helps your AG get kills.
Yeah, that's true.
And you can always give them Calling Strike to trigger your Chains of Command when... 10% chance to trigger 18 AGW when your animated weapon kills an enemy. And then trigger AGW when animated Guardian kills an enemy. So anytime the Guardian kills an enemy, he summons his weapon. I don't know how many animated Guardian weapons you can have. It doesn't
no idea.
say. But that seems like it would be a lot of fun. So you'd still be hard casting animate weapon, but your AG would be running around
with animate weapon as well. Yeah. And if you wanted, if the animated weapons use physical damage, you could actually give the triad grips to your AG instead, and that means his minions will have cold conversion or whatever conversion. So you could do it that way. A lot of interesting stuff.
Just the chess piece gives splash to all your animated minions. That is huge because every minion build, for the most part, you have to swap a gem for a boss fight.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have to do that with this. You would just, it would be very mind-numbingly simple.
Be interesting. I mean, again,
and you won't have to worry about Spectre BS. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, just this little brief talk about the transfigured gems already shows it. Just looking at these things can spark a whole bunch of ideas, which is definitely what they're trying to do here. and I think we're gonna see a lot of Cyclone minion builds from you this league.
I
But
mean, it would be perfect for Cyclone because the summoner doesn't really have to do anything else.
yeah.
Since they nerfed permanent minions a long time ago.
They nerfed the shit out of golems this league too. But
So they have the of hordes now since they changed the jewel.
yeah, but the of hordes gets rid of the buff that they gave you.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, so elementalist golems never really cared about the buff. It was their they would spawn and pop. The buff was very minimal for an elementalist, I believe.
Yeah, and actually some people have been looking at the new ice golem, which could be popcorn ice
Which
golems.
Explodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then fire golem is the meteor on spawn.
Yeah.
So
Which
you've got two different things going on there.
Which that one might be kind of messy because where's it going to target? Is it going to target where your cursor is? Where is it gonna
I'm assuming the same as falling zombie.
Yeah, that one might be a little bit strange to work with, but it's definitely worth looking into. A lot of this stuff is too. Is there any gems that that you're looking forward to there, Meef? If you're still there.
Sorry, I'm eating the bagels.
Bagels.
Is there any gems? Speaking of any gems, actually, the 5th page had something I was curious your take on. Lightning Arrow has a transfigured, and it looks like it would be good to swap out for bosses because what it does is it sticks lightning arrows into the enemy and then it constantly shocks them, almost like a brand or something.
Yeah, or something similar with like EA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. We could see like a total skill swap for bosses depending on what people are trying to do, but I think that there's still going to be certain support gems that people will still want to swap out. Like, if you look at like SRS Guardian, they're still going to be wanting to put multi-strike out and put in I forget what the one is. There's a gem that they would swap in for the one that does like the extra attacks. I forget what it's called.
Oh yeah. Here it is. Lightning Arrow of Execution.
Electrocution.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry, I had it the other way around. They would like swap out melee splash for multi-strike on bosses, and it's still good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
that happens a lot.
I think that this is just the cool thing about this league is that there's just going to be so many options that there's always going to be like the end objective, like this is better than this, but the fact that everything is just so versatile now, this kind of it's a bit more new player friendly in the sense that they don't feel like they're being pigeonholed into doing one specific thing. Like you can kind of just pick up your skills and go, and then you can explore through your own build if you're not looking for guides or anything like that. And there's going to be better choices than others, but you're not going to be completely shafted out if like you're doing like a quarter of the damage that you should be doing rather than using a different gem setup or different skills or whatever the case is, or if you could go with like the new different ascendancy thing that they have going on.
Yeah, that's a perfect comparison is the fact that this is going to smooth out the gameplay for a lot of people, but it also proves this is something that me and Driz has said for a long time. I've said this for a long time, and I know people have said this for a long time. This game has way more viable builds than the YouTubers will lead you on to believe. Like they do that so that they go, okay, I'm the ballista totem guy, or I'm the lightning arrow guy. Come to me and watch my videos. This is exactly how you're supposed to do it. There's way more nuance in this game, and sure, you could maybe min-max in certain ways that these people display, but there are builds out there. We've seen people do leap slam boss killers. you could do all sorts of shit with this game. It's just people get pigeonholed and then they go, oh, I don't want to think outside the box, or it's too complicated for me. And they ignore so many builds that are viable. Now, I get Melee is kind of in a bad situation right now because it's difficult to make up for the defenses to be able to do Melee and get up in the ass of all these Uber bosses. But I guarantee most Melee builds can even do at least non-Uber endgame. You're not doing wave 30.
I think any build can do non-Uber with even with bad reflexes.
Mm-hmm.
Like if somebody wasn't that good at reacting to things, non-Uber is definitely, because the game is tailored for Uber bosses. I think that's where they get all their numbers from. They think of what happens when it's all put together. In some cases, then you have outliers like your Frostblades that just.
I mean, the thing I'll say with that, like, so I think it's great that people have like their own specific things. Like when you think of like Righteous Fire, it's like almost synonymous with Pox. You know, people will, see a build and they'll just be like, oh, this is Zizaran's guide for XYZ, or this is, Crouching Tuna's guide for Lightning Arrow. Or, people have these specific things that they go to. And as tailored as it is, I think it's a really good thing because they're so like just mind focused into making that build as good as it can be, that when new changes or things get altered in certain ways or new things are added to the game, their first go-to thought is, how can I put this in, or fix this from my build to make this better, or is it even still viable to be playing this skill the way I used to do it and for the content. So I think it's great that people do that. I will say a lot of the problem is like a lot of those guides are tailored to new players or people who just haven't experienced those skills before. So that's not really a bad thing. The problem is with new player expectation is that they don't know. Honestly, they don't even probably know what to expect. Like, you go in, you think, oh, I'm going to play the game and I'm just going to make some money. And, maybe by the end of the league, I can buy some really cool big item like a Mage Blood. Like for a lot of people, that's their goal, is to just get in, get their Mage Blood, and then they beat the game. But, you can do that with just about any single build, collecting one chaos at a time. Or, you can do things that are like big ticket crafting where it's like you can make 100 divine item. It's not going to sell, but, when it does, you've made 50 divine profit, but you might have waited a week to sell it or something. So there's different routes that, or you just want to card gamble and just, quit the league if you fail or whatever the people do. But I think a lot of it comes down to expectation because, for example, you could have a single target build that can kill Uber bosses, instantaneously. But if you don't have, like, if you just take that into a mapping scenario, or you're trying to run, Legion with that, it's going to be completely miserable. And vice versa on that, if you have an insane mapper, you're clearing the entire map in under a minute, and you take that into an Uber boss and you can't kill the boss at all because you just don't have the damage to do it. It just feels really bad. So I don't know. I think a lot of it just comes down to expectations and content farming for what people want to do. It's like a lab is a good example of that too, because if you're building a lab runner, you're not going to be able to map. You're not going to be able to boss. It's specific for that content only.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people get into the game and don't know that. They come into Path of Exile, they look up, their friends say, oh yeah, here's a website, look up a build that looks fun. And they're like, oh wow, this kills a boss instantly, I'm going to do this. And then they do it, they build it, probably incorrectly, but build it, and then get their butt kicked on AoE content or Delve or Lab or whatever. And then like, well, this game is so stupid.
Yeah, it takes them 15 minutes to clear a map, and you see your friend doing it in under a minute. So that's what I was talking about of like player expectation, is because if they don't even know what to expect with that, it's kind of like a hard thing, because maybe they find out they really don't like mapping. Maybe they don't like just killing as many things as they possibly can and collecting money that way. Maybe they'd rather just kill bosses and try to win the mechanics and beat the encounter and hit those big ticket items to sell them, and that's more rewarding to them for the different play styles. So I think it just comes down to player expectation and their goals and what they're trying to do. But there's something you were talking about before, and always with the transfigured gems and talking about this just opens up the ability for them to make new gems or like old gems in new ways.
Yeah.
And PoE, I think people always ask like what makes PoE like such a great game, and ultimately it comes down to the core base game. Like the floor of the game is so solidified that when they add new things, it completely changes the way people play, but it doesn't destroy value in the old game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't think of a good example of it right now, but like if you have like the skill gems, like there's some spots where it's like you always had to use Vol Haste, or you always had to use a Vol version of a gem, and you didn't have another option because it was just the best way to go. Well, now they can have a different version of a Vol gem that has like the similar same baseline, but now maybe it has increased AoE.
And you're still customizing it.
Correct.
You're
yeah.
still
So
making the build your own.
yeah, so the baseline for it is better because PoE has always had a strong baseline for what the game is, and being able to have like the baseline for the gems the way they are now is great because it's basically a tree for like a literal tree, and as it branches out, you can have a branch going out this way that does a completely different thing, but it's still associated with the same tree. So at any point, they can just add a new branch or take it away or change it and prune it however they want. And it makes for less dramatic changes. At least that's the way I see it from like a developer standpoint. Like you're not going to have like these big swinging changes where it's like, well, now there's absolutely no reason to do delve anymore because heist is in the game, or whatever the case is with like new content coming out, where it's the thing, and if you're not doing it, you're wrong. Like I can't tell you how many leagues that I played where the new mechanic comes out and I go, well, I'm not doing this, and there's certain things that you might be hurt for in the long run for not doing those things, but
but it wasn't that bad.
Correct. Yeah. So you didn't feel forced to do it.
I didn't play this league mechanic at all. I went in while leveling once, and then beyond that, I bought my stupid tattoos.
Yep, same thing.
And I didn't feel that punished. But think of other games people play, like Destiny. If you log into Destiny and the 90-day league mechanic is go do the same catch fight over and over and over again, and then you can do treasure hunting, and then you can do the weekly dungeon that doesn't change. Those are 3 things you can do in Destiny 2. Yeah. And if you don't like the league mechanic, guess what? You don't like Destiny 2. It's so funny. And then with Path of Exile, it's insane. Like, oh, what's this league mechanic? I honestly don't care. They changed the Atlas. I'm loving this new skill. Leave me alone.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's a perfect a comparison to people that don't understand how to develop their game versus people that do. That's very good. First off, me started out with calling me out for saying people have their special niches and they do their videos. I wasn't saying anything derogatory about these people that do videos. Just so I make that clear, so that I don't get attacked on the street or something from some ballista totem lover, and they're like, "You should have talked about him that way." That's not what I meant. I just meant that.
Remember, we got 33% of the.
Oh, that's not how I meant that either.
It's like, yeah, it definitely does get people pigeonholed, or at least narrow-minded into, okay, this is the only way this can be built. Palestrin is a good example. He's actually one of the people I'm kind of referencing because he does a lot of ballista totem stuff. He just came out with another video that stated that a lot of the caustic arrow or the toxic rain build that he did, the ballista totem one, there's a whole bunch of new ballista totem stuff, and I think another one that came out in this recent Transfigured Gem post. And he said, yeah, well, I don't know what's going to work, but these are all the different things we can try, which is exactly what people should be doing. Give it a try. Try to switch it around. The thing you were saying about Path of Exile being as dynamic as that when it comes to wanting to focus on things and saying, oh, well, we don't want to pigeonhole somebody into only doing Delve because it's the only thing that's worth doing. One of the main factors of that is the fact that the reason that Sanctum was a problem last league, in my opinion, as well as Toda eventually, was that generic currency, generic things were very, very easy to get that way versus anything else. The reason you want to farm these things is if, oh, we want tattoos. Tattoos were a big thing. If that was a good enough mechanic and a good enough thing that people wanted to collect, then do Toda. It's worth farming. But you don't need to do it because it drops 5 divines every time you do a round. That's the problem. That shouldn't happen. And they usually tone that stuff back. Sanctum the same way. What was it? What was his name? Cute Dog? He had a video of...
I think that's the one you mentioned, yeah.
Yeah, 8 mirrors at the end of Sanctum. That shouldn't happen. I'm sorry. I don't care how good your build is.
But at the same time, we've got hundreds of thousands of people playing this game around the world. And the fact that it could happen is a huge carrot for gamers.
True.
Because if you look at what it appeals to people, I hate to be the one to inform everybody, but people jumping off of the map for 30 minutes straight in Call of Duty is back. And they jump and spin and weapon switch for 13 weeks straight and then land one shot and then post it on their TikTok. And that's a fad again. But the appeal to Call of Duty is landing something like that because there's a chance of that happening for some people.
Yes.
So when you look at Path of Exile, it's like, oh, dude, bro, this is insane.
Speaking of which,
mechanic, and you can get like 10 mirrors.
Speaking of which, follow me on TikTok. I do.
I don't see you jumping off of a map for 30 minutes straight in
a
lobby that's all your friends. And it's all scripted.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, you see me
so
actually landing like multi shots in a regular open lobby and
regular match where people are shooting at you. Imagine,
yeah, it's hard.
You look at these clips, you see the kill feed. It's just suicide, suicide, suicide.
Yeah,
because that's what the whole lobby's doing, and they're like, "Oh, we're so good! Oh my god, I'm on TSM or whatever." Whoever does that.
720 no scope. Fake switch 360 upside down, fakey with a skateboard.
Now Call of Duty is going to add an emote where your operator pulls out a phone and uploads on TikTok, and then you do that emote, then you shoot, and then you upload it on TikTok, and we got TikTokception.
I just learned that you could do TikTok from your clips in Twitch. I didn't know there was an option to do that. You also do it to YouTube as well. That's interesting.
Yeah, they've had the YouTube for a while.
Yeah.
But I have a note here about what Meef was saying with content doesn't get destroyed. A lot of games do that. And just to play garbage developer advocate, a lot of reasons people destroy content, I think it's twofold. One is new player experience isn't daunting, and the other one is queue times. So back to Destiny 2, the scapegoat of everything because it's poop. If you had every single dungeon in the game still, you'd have people queued up for all these different dungeons and stuff. And it's a very simple way to keep your community together is when you cut off 95% of your game. And with Path of Exile, they doesn't really have that issue. It doesn't have the queue time, and they just tell new players to get stuffed, basically.
Yeah.
Which is great because every game company out there caters to make something as simple as possible. And grinding gear games, digital extremes don't do that. They realize that what they have is special and they capitalize on it. And they know they'll never be the top dog. Path of Exile will never outshine Diablo when you're browsing a gaming website or whatever. Diablo is always going to be more successful because 90% of gaming is casual. But they know that their base is hardcore and love what they do.
That's very, very accurate. I think the only other thing I would add to that is another thing, and this is not necessarily a negative thing on other developers, but it also slows down power creep. It can easily slow down power creep, at least in my opinion, if you give something that's really powerful and then kind of take it back or take it away. GGG did that technically with Harvest. Harvest was easily the most powerful crafting system that was ever introduced to the game by far. And then they were like, "Whoa, wait a minute. We didn't mean to give you that much freedom. You guys are making mirror tier gear easily. We're going to bring that back." And then they slowly butchered Harvest.
They saw my stream. Like, if somebody like this can get mirror tier gear, we really fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah, they were like, no, there's way too much of this floating around. We need to dial this back. I always compare that to Blizzard and their thing with flying mounts. This is something that's always been talked about way back in the day. Was that when they put flying mounts in the first expansion, they were like, yeah, we fucked up. We shouldn't have done that, because now we have to develop every single expansion and every zone with the ability to have verticality to it, and not have like big open areas of just no clipping and no textures and shit.
They couldn't put invisible walls everywhere and craft everything, create the entire world from the ground.
Yeah, they couldn't do that anymore, which screwed them up, and they eventually caved, and that's why we got Cataclysm, and they try to make the old world that way and shit like that. But yeah, they got to be careful when they tread that water. When they add something so powerful, they're like, yeah, sorry guys, we're not letting you have this after this league. This is going to be a true temporary league. Sometimes they bring a little bit of it back, but Harvest got butchered to an extent that now there's still use for it, but it's not so prevalent that you go, okay, well, no matter what craft I'm doing, I have to use Harvest. You don't do that. So.
Right. And I don't think there's a real problem with having like temp leagues that are just like way wild. Like if you look at Crucible, some of the things that people were able to get out of the Forge were just absolutely bonkers. Or things like look at the Recombinators. Another great example of being like click a button and suddenly you have something better than you could ever craft in any other method, because you just smashed two things together and got the right modifiers. But those aren't in the current base game right now. And if you look at things like Harvest is the great example. It's like when it initially came out, I don't know if people actually played during that time or they've just heard how overpowered Harvest was. It used to be a pain in the ass to develop your plots and put the shit all over the ground and go in every single time just to juice your catalyst or just to juice your little plots there to finally harvest them out. So when they finally did the revamp for it, they simplified it in a way that they simplify a lot of the other league mechanics to be able to put them in the baseline game to make it less time intensive and more interactive with a lot of players. So the thing is like Sanctum is another great example of that. It was really changed in a way that made it more not relatable, but it just made it like an easier way of access into going in and just doing the content and getting out. And but the problem is it's the rewards are just way too much. Like that was the problem. Like people always want to do rewarding content, but like Rogers, what you were talking about before, like you're just getting way too much stuff. Like the one-off clip of got some dude getting 8 mirrors is just like a what the hell kind of moment. That's wild. Like not everyone is doing that, but that's just the far extreme end of it. The more like honest trailer of it all is that people were pulling out multiple divines on completion of every single sanctum.
Yeah.
And they were able to pump them out like crazy. So that's why the inflation was just so bad last league.
The same with Tota. Tota did that.
Should be. Yeah. Tota was the same way. But when Tota came out initially, it was terrible. A lot of people just completely ignored it because it's like, for the amount of time and effort you have to do to place your minions and do the content and have a character even strong enough to get past a certain wave, like the waves were just so impossible.
XP, right?
Yeah. And combining that with like, okay, here's your 3 alchemy orbs. It's like, why would I spend 20 minutes doing this when I could just go in a map, kill 5 things, and get that same reward?
Yeah. Yeah, that's see, Tota. I like the idea. The whole that's what Path of Exile has been doing for a while now. It's like we really need in-depth mechanics, and I think I might be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Breach is really where they were like, here's a pretty big mechanic. Now everybody got really into it. That they drew a lot of people in during that time, and since then they're like, we got to keep making these big mechanics. We can't have another Anarchy League where it's just like you go into a map and there's like a couple rogue exiles. We can't do that anymore. We have to have a lot of mechanics behind it. And recently they've been coming up with ideas that are just predicated on other game styles. This one was tower defense. A little loose when it comes to tower defense, but it was not even the tower defense. It was a tower defense plus something else. Blight was our tower defense. That was tower defense. But they come out with this Tota League, and they just shat out tons of lore, which I don't give two fucks about. But at least it's there. It's interesting. It was cool. We got to kill Calm again. That dude, Calm or whatever. That dude's been killed like 500 times in history. It's like, it's cool. And all those new characters. And there was a couple uniques, like the sword. That sword, Rakiata's whatever it's called. That sword is insane. And I have a feeling there could be a blade trap build with that sword coming out soon.
Reverse resistances or?
Yeah, it's the one that reverses the resistances, and blade trap, the transfigured gem version, allows you to use a two-hander. So
right,
you can now, I think Rakiata's sword is going to be used for a blade trap.
Its targets resistances are reversed, right?
Inverted, I think that's what it's called.
Inverted, reverse, something like that. But
same thing.
Is that one passive note still in the game that when you hit them with like lightning, they become resistant to lightning but weaker to fire and cold?
You talking about elemental equilibrium?
Yeah, is that still?
Yeah,
it's still on tree
forever. So that would just be, if you're a single element user, that would just be an instant gain for that sword.
Yeah,
it's like
you could do that
or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah, if you can come up with ways
a lot there.
If you can come up with ways to apply that, it's like explosive arrow is really easy to get equilibrium on, because the initial hit can be you just don't stack flat fire on your gear, so that the initial hit you get cold or lightning on it, and then once it hits, it's cold or lightning, and then makes the explosion, which is fire, do way more damage. That's how that build works. So there's a way to do it, then people will figure it out. I think I mentioned this. I know I mentioned it to you, Driz. I don't know if I mentioned it to Meef. Oh no, I think I mentioned it to Meef, but not you. But the new burning arrow of Vigor or Vigor, whatever. I think it's Vigor. I think that's going to be a powerful totem build. Very powerful.
I honestly thought we'd see Vigor more somewhere else on the.
On the.
And I thought Vigor would be an affix we would see on more abilities.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Surprised they came up with that idea, and they're just like, no, just burning arrow.
The thing about that is I don't know what would be the best build, like the best character to even build. Would you want to go Elementalist? Because that's the character you usually go for explosive arrow, and that's all fire. You think maybe that would be a route to take? But yeah, I think burning arrow is gonna sneak in at some point in this league, and somebody's gonna be like, "Oh, I just one shot Uber Shaper, didn't even phase. He just died." Because I have totems with 6 million health for some reason, because I found some bug. So.
Yeah, I think PoE is in a good state right now. Like, I've got high hopes for this league. Like I said, I think people are still going to be coming up with new stuff, like all the way up to the week before the new league comes out. And as far as the mechanic goes itself, this is shaping up to be what looks to be like something of kind of a cross between Crucible and the Recombinator League Sentinel. With just, you're getting, rather than trying to get the power base through like getting a good weapon and getting a good crucible on it, you're getting your tree, which you have one of 3 options to choose whatever is going to work best for your build. And one of those is being able to basically get a whole 2 extra different ascendancies if you want. and I'm pretty sure it's even across different classes together too. So just the stuff that people is going to come up with is wild. And then the way that those little spirits work, that when you clear out the little groves or whatever and you come back into your map and now it enhances the other mobs, is kind of a similar way to how the sentinels themselves worked. So I think it should be a pretty transferable power, or like at least like a similar mechanic style to how those worked, and it just comes down to the rewards and how they're going to play out. I think magic finding is going to be out of the fucking world, this league. Like, it's going to be so crazy.
Yeah.
So hopefully it doesn't get too inflated, but I think this is going to be another like really rich league for a lot of people.
We got Drizental the blurry face.
The only worry that I have about how things are shaken up right now is that there's a lot of people, like I haven't seen anybody talk about this, but when you look at a skill, it's typically tailored for a specific ascendancy and play style. So you're like, oh, you're going to be lightning arrow. It's like, are you really going to play that on a trickster? No. Are you probably going to play it on a raider? Yeah. But when you look at things like SRS guard or SRS right now, there's probably 4 different ascendancies that can really take that to a whole different power level. And as great as it is to have skills that are just that transferable, just like comparing it to World of Warcraft, just for example, when you have things that are just so homogenized, it really deteriorates what the differences between classes and specific ascendancies can be. So when everyone is basically doing the same thing, no matter what you're picking, it kind of devalues going into a specific route for a specific purpose. Like, there's some builds that, like for SRS right now, you look at it and the skill tree is exactly the same. The gear, the gems, everything is exactly the same. The only difference is the ascendancy and where people start and path. Like, that's pretty much the difference in the build, which is it's great for universal play. But like I said, the worry I have is that it just over homogenizes things and it just devalues like the specific play style of certain things.
Yeah, I think that's just, I think the biggest problem is the fact that if you really look at the tree, sure, that's one of Path of Exile's uh, claims to fame, is how ridiculous the tree is. But if you really break it down, for many years now, there's so many nodes and so many sections of the tree you don't even bother with. Like, there's a lot, so it's not hard to have different builds like that kind of overlap, and hopefully
But
the okay.
At the same time, parts of the tree and items that don't get used and stuff like that, like, not necessarily because you can't do the content with it. It's just we still have the majority of gaming being sheep.
Yes, yeah.
A large portion of the game is people just following a guide still.
Yeah, and
But
that's very true.
But we could come up with our own. We could absolutely not look up anything and come up with our own builds and be well into red mapping. And then it's like, okay, let me go see what other people were doing.
Yeah, I think every one of us.
Oh, look, I got a 3% increase because I readjusted my passive tree.
Yeah, I definitely believe that any of us can easily go in there and say, "Oh, you know what? That's a skill I want to give it I want to give it a shot." You kind of got the baseline of where you want to start and what class, and then you end up getting into red maps, and that's where you end up hitting that kind of that wall where you're like, okay, let me see what else somebody's done with this build. And you're like, oh, I just need to change like 4 nodes over here and like add a cluster jewel or some shit. And now I've just doubled my damage because I didn't realize this interaction existed, but now I do. So for future reference, I could do that now. It's a mixture of knowing a lot and then still not knowing everything. Like
that I just learned about that that jewel that you have to have the right number on it. The enemies defeated. One of those passives is attributes aren't required anymore, but they don't offer any benefit, and that is game changing. When you're looking at gear and you you look at all the attributes that come on gear, and you tell yourself like you don't need any of it. You can make a build so much cheaper for early on or mid league or whenever the heck, but there's so much you can do once you get that silly little node, and you're only missing out. In a lot of cases, you're missing out on life from strength. But
yeah, that's another balancing act, is figuring out, like, it's like you start to build something, you're like, okay, this is how my damage stuff, and you're like, wait a minute, I have 0 defensive layers. What the hell am I gonna do here? And then you're like, oh, I guess I'll do determination or vitality for some life regen, and then it's a lot of balancing. That's what the benefit of all those people that specialize in these different types of builds are, is that they've already done all that math for you, so it's not, you don't have to deal with it. But this transfigured stuff is gonna really open up a lot. So I'm definitely.
Are we starting in 20? Yeah, 20 minutes. All right.
Yeah. So
you guys are waiting in the queue right now?
No.
Oh
no. Oh
yes,
no.
I am.
No. One thing I wanted to. So basically this was a podcast of the transfigured gems and a lot of our ideas.
So let's talk about specifics.
So I wanted to real quick go over just the general changes and kind of reiterate what he was saying about Magic Find, because there's a reason for that. Let's real quick go over 50,000 people. Nice. I need to turn off my audio in game so that it's not coming through during this. Just master volume. All right. So we got a couple changes. We already talked about Metamorph. That's gone. All that stuff is being molded in and put into Ultimatum. I don't know if you played Ultimatum. I'm pretty sure Meef did, and I know I did. Ultimatum is a phenomenal mechanic. It's a great mechanic.
I was playing some other game.
Oh, gotcha. So Ultimatum is a great mechanic. I don't know, Meef, what's your opinion? Do you like, yay, nay?
Yeah, I think it's great. It's you know, the one of the new nodes where you can't choose the modifiers, but you can go extra. Like, that's going to be kind of interesting to see how it goes, because it's going to like almost force people to have, you know,
every defense covered.
Yeah.
Because some of those modifiers are suicide for.
Yeah, some of them were really bad. Like Standing in the Stones one, that one was always one that people skip just because it's just like a time-based thing, and you're typically having to dodge and avoid shit while that's going on. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if you see people still picking that node, and depending on their build, they're just kind of risking it to see if they get a shit one or not. So it's like, oh, shit one, okay, escape macro, and we go next map. So I fully anticipate to see people doing stuff like that. But again, like with the Ultimatum, I think when they introduce new leagues or bring back old mechanics and things like that, it's always a fine line of finding the balance between reward and like time investment. With the way that Ultimatum used to work, I think that it's going to be a very fast mechanic. You're going to be able to get in, and if you don't like the rewards or see the direction it's going, or you get like some shit mod, you don't really want to run it, you can just dip out. It's not a big deal. Go next map. You know, you can target farm it pretty easily now if it's going to be just like Metamorph, basically taking up all those node slots.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine seeing Ultimatum come out and be underpowered in terms of the value that it's going to put out. So unless it's way overtuned, I don't anticipate them nerfing it before the next league. Like, just for example, if you look at the way that Sanctum worked, like they knew it was overpowered going into even last league, and they didn't want to change it because the amount of work, plus it's like, people are already farming it. This is what they're doing. It's like, do you really want to cut something down halfway through the league? Or, you know, hey, this one spell is way overperforming for people. Like, do we really want to say, hey, we're going to nerf this by whatever percent, and then suddenly now your build doesn't work or it doesn't perform how you want? Like, it's a big upset to people that are already invested into things like that. That's why I really like that GG will acknowledge things that are like busted when they can see it, and they go, you know what, unless it's like something just way too strong, or there's like a bug interaction with the way something works, that they fix it on the next league around.
Yeah, that's one thing that they're very good at. It's like if it's a busted interaction. I coincidentally, when Ultimatum came out, there was a bugged interaction that got somebody banned. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it had something to do with stepping in and out of
world?
yeah, it was something to do with stepping in and out of the circle. It kept resetting something. I forgot what the whole reason was, what was broken about it. But it was Empyrean Gaming, one of the big dogs. He does a lot of group play. That guy got banned, and his entire group got banned, and it was because the interaction was bugged, and they abused it for like a day or so before they reported it, which is what caused them to lose, the rest of the league. But when it's an overpowered thing, good example, Forbidden Right totems was busted. That was a strong ass skill, and that came out in Expedition, and that was a ridiculous skill. And people were just, because the problem with that skill was that it damaged the totems, because the skill damages you when you cast it. But the thing was happening is that the totems were able to survive it, and then you could put out all your totems, die to a boss, and then just wait for the boss to die, because it would still kill him. So
But that's not supposed to happen, because when the player's dead, all damage stops.
Correct. That was not supposed to. That was the bug. But they said it wasn't detrimental, and you still had to level up your whole character and do all the work to get to that point. So they were like, fuck it, we'll change it the next league. You guys enjoy the broken skill if you want to do totem whatever. And then what
you want a totem suicide. We got
totem
bigger
suicide
things to worry about.
They ended up fixing it by nerfing the fucking soul mantle chess piece by removing the extra totem, and then they nerfed something else. But
that's so weird, because soul mantle was
used to be great.
Fun.
But so I'm looking forward to Ultimatum. Hopefully.
Hang on, before we change topics again, going back to animated weapon real quick.
Yeah. You want me to go back to it?
The animated guardian weapon from Chains of Command. You can have 14 of them.
Oh.
Plus your animated weapon, whatever one you choose. If you choose the one that summons ranged weapons or the one that summons a copy of your own weapon, you have all those.
I would do the one that copies your own weapon, just so you don't have to worry about shit dropping on the ground. Yeah, you just copy your own shit, and there you go.
And it's limited to 6. So with a little bit of cast speed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you're back to cycloning.
Yeah, then you're back to cyclone. That's perfect. I never suggest starting builds. Whatever's comfortable is good. But if you're gonna do some tech, some Drizental tech, I can see this being something.
Starting cyclone is not bad, because minions do their minion things, and you just grab the node. If you're most likely going to be guardian, but even necromancy, you just want your hits not to be evaded, so you don't have to worry about anything. Then you're stacking life on hit.
Yeah,
because like with minions leveling, you don't have anything on your gear. Your gear for minions leveling is defensive layers. You're very rarely getting minion damage on gear while you're leveling, so you're getting life on hit while leveling with minions, and it's nutty.
You could always go the slow route too. There's a new cyclone. You always go the super slow new cyclone.
Is there now?
Yeah, I think it's. Is it on page 2?
Cyclone of.
Is it
Tumult? Oh, by the way, I'm gonna link this to you. At the very bottom of the wiki, they've started to add all the new stuff, and it's much easier to find what you're looking for there. Just scroll down to the bottom of that link.
Where'd you link it?
In your stream. Cyclone of Tumult. Channel the skill to move towards the targeted location while spinning, building up stages. While channeling, you cannot be knocked back. Added physical, more attack speed, 1 stage meter. So what's different about it?
It makes you super slow.
Less movement per stage, up to 6. So 60% less movement. That means that's not. That's not the math people think it is. That is 60% less movement. You're 40% away from being stopped. So no matter
play with Cam's boots or something of the like that say you can't be slow base.
Yeah.
What
So what are we benefiting from
On the cyclone
of tumult. What's the benefit there?
It was
I would check it like cast time, spells.
It was radius, I think, as well.
Area.
0.1 meter per stage, so we're 0.6 to radius.
So it makes it a bigger.
Okay. Unlike the original, the transfigured version has a slower attack speed, lacks the constant movement speed penalty, and gains more attack speed and area of effect, but loses movement per stage. So it gains more attack speed and area of effect over the original.
Yeah, it's actually a lot of attack speed, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, 25% more per stage. That's 150% more attack speed, not 125, not 150% increased attack speed.
Yeah.
Because more and less are tricky words in this game. That.
Yeah, more and less just means a multiplier.
Yeah. So that
was Meef here when we talked about that interaction with the staff and the helmet.
No, that was.
I don't think so.
He had popped in like really briefly when we were doing that. That was that spur of the moment thing that we did. Talk about the patch notes.
The staff that gives triple elemental damage gives 60% less elemental resistances, and there's a helmet that says there's one of each. The file helmets, they give. There's one for each element and one for each attribute, whatever. So the strength one says your fire resistance is 75, your cold and lightning resistance are 50% less, or 60% less, or something like that. So with the chest piece that says nearby enemies lightning resistance is your own, you want as little lightning resistance as possible. You want to go heavy into the negative. But if you wear the helmet in combination with the staff, Path of Exile math looks at 100% less lightning resistance equals 0. Even if you have rings that say minus 50% to lightning resist, 50% less than 0 is 0.
Yep.
So it really irked me that I couldn't cheat a little bit and get like negative 80% lightning resist, because when you combine less and less, it adds up those two numbers, and if it equals 100% less, it's always 0.
Yeah, back when Doriani prototype was big, and what was it? It was a Calandra, I think. People were doing that with the rings.
Yep.
I don't know if that's when they changed that, but there's something to where the way that the ordering of the math is on that, that's why they made that change. Where it's like, if there's that kind of interaction, it just makes it base 0.
Yeah. They make all the less the final calculation. And well, no, the final calculation is always at the end. So fire resistance is 75. Doesn't care what anything else, whatever else you have on, it is 75.
Right.
Yeah.
Then right before that is the less or more. Probably more than less, but cool.
Yeah.
All right.
What's your position in queue, Jace?
Lower than yours because I woke up to your alert. 16,880.
Okay.
8 minutes and 8.5 minutes to go.
Minus 50,000.
8K. I just clicked it and I just happened to refresh it at the right time. Like I just checked it like a minute or like 2 ago. I checked it like a minute or 2 before I got into the queue and it wasn't up yet. And I just habitually like told tab back in and click log in and it was up. I'm like, oh shit. That's when I messaged you. So
what's your queue?
8,000.
Oh, nice.
Mine's
so
50.
From the time that I clicked log in, I messaged you guys and put it on Discord, and then from that point on is when I got into what you guys are looking at now for reference of like a time frame of how people logged in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, out of everything, I think we covered quite a bit. I think the last thing I really wanted to real quick talk about was the heist changes, which is what I'm focusing on.
Yeah, you're specking into it, yeah?
Well, I'm not really. There's really no spec. I mean, you could do heist with any
Atlas.
build, but yeah, the Atlas.
I mean Atlas spec. I don't mean your character. Your character doesn't matter too much.
No. As long as you have.
If you want to cheat heist, totems and minions are pretty cheaty because the whole league mechanic is very room based.
That and
you literally stand around a corner and never see content.
Yeah, it's that and phasing. Phasing flask is a big help. You just pop phasing, run through all the hordes that are blocking doors and shit. Just run your way out. It's all you really care
Yeah.
about is the get in and get out. The reason I'm doing that is because some of the new bases or the changed bases, as he was saying earlier, that Magic Find might get pretty big. The Simplex Amulet, that is a massive item.
Oh, that's under. Do you have that up there?
It's in the
New item balance. Okay, now has a -2 to prefix allowed and 100%.
So it already has -1 suffix. So you have -2 prefix, -1 suffix. So that means you're down to 3 modifiers. If you put Shaper Influence on that, you can roll it with the Crit Multi Essence. I don't remember which essence that is, but the Crit Multi Essence, roll that, you can get about 80 to 85%, somewhere around that range, because it's 100% increase.
Essence.
With the essence, and you roll it until you get plus 10% quantity, which becomes 20%. So you now have
wait, Shaper. Oh, never mind. You're talking. I was thinking Eldritch implicits. I'm like, that's not.
No.
Suffix. No. Okay, you're talking about. Yeah. Okay, I'm with you.
Shaper Influence has a 10%. So as long as it's 10% quantity, yeah. As long as the item level is 85 or above, which you can get that modifier. So you can get 80% crit multi, 20% quantity, and then just roll a life roll or something, which will also get doubled. Looking at that sounds great. And that's one of the biggest things. Like Meef had brought it up, and he was like, "This is like the big thing for Magic Finders." And I was thinking, there are a lot of other things you can do. If you did a Redeemer modifier on that, you could get free hatred, or any other conqueror. They have a bunch of 50% reduced mana reservation for skills, so you could get a free.
Is 100%? 100%?
Yeah, it means it'll basically double it. It'll double whatever your roll is.
No, I mean, you said 50%, so 100% reduced mana reservation. It doesn't have any diminishing returns or anything?
No. It'll make hatred or whatever the modifier free. So you'll be able to put on hatred and not have any mana cost. It will not reserve anything. So you'll be able to get that, or you can just get the mana reservation roll, which is also Redeemer, which is a 20%. Well, 10%. You can get it up to 20. It would be 20%. If you got both of those, you got a free aura, 20% mana reserve, and why not? How about you throw in a prefix of +1 skill gem? Oh wait, that becomes +2. You now have +2 to all skill gems, and you have all that mana reduction on your amulet. I don't know.
Oh. Well, the prefix wouldn't get the modifier. It's only the increase is only to explicit.
That's
no, wait.
This is
explicit. Yeah, no. I'm thinking. Never mind. I'm thinking stuff. I can't read.
Explicit would be both.
The whole thing would be. Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Just go to Craft of Exile, look at any modifier, and go, man, could I use double of that? And you got yourself. So Simplex amulets, I guarantee you, are going to be rare, and they're going to be very expensive, because the only thing you have to do to it is to get the correct influence. And if you want Elder or Shaper influence on that, it's kind of a pain in the ass, because you have to use Harvest to change the influences, because you can't.
What about those four, the text on there, the minus, and the plus? Those are all implicits, right?
Yeah, those are implicits.
So you wouldn't be able to use Eldritch modifiers on that, or you?
Eldritch stuff doesn't work on amulets or rings or.
Eldritch is just
doesn't work on jewelry,
gloves, and helmet.
What the hell am I thinking? Never mind.
Catalyst, maybe.
Maybe
Catalyst will work, but that's just gonna.
Does it? So is there any way to modify that implicit?
No, it even says in the description of the implicit that they can't be modified.
Gotcha.
So then modify, you can't even vol.
Oh, implicit modifiers is right there. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even think you can
vol it off.
Yeah, you can't even do that. You can enchant it, of course, and then you catalyze it.
It would just be as well as, okay. Because I'm used to I don't know when it happened, but like when they first started adding actual implicits on stuff to make stuff more interesting, like the gloves that give melee damage. I remember hitting it with Eldritch implicit, and it got rid of that implicit. I'm just like, well, if you can get rid of that negative, but no, never mind. Don't worry about it. I'm dumb. 1 minute.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Heist. I think there's other stuff about Heist. They had some new replicas that look like they might be powerful. One of them is Replica Covenant, which replaces the plus 29 skill gem, Chaos skill gem, and makes it a cold one. I think that might be sought after. I think that'd be a good replacement for Hyri's Ire if people are considering it. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't do bow builds too often. Maybe Meef would be better on that.
You have a list of these replicas?
I don't know if there's a
7 of the new ones are replica uniques.
Not sure.
Who's that guy trying to find all the uniques? Because they just added 633 more foiled uniques.
Well, he doesn't give a shit
Good
about
luck,
the foiled.
buddy.
He doesn't give a shit about the foiled. Those keys
I'm
are
more
ridiculous.
Of a stickler, me Seeks. How are you doing on your foiled collection?
I would
oh
like.
my God, how are you doing on your foiled collection?
You know how expensive it would be to buy the amount of void keys to do all that? There's no shot. No fucking way.
Nobody will remember his name.
Yeah,
No.
from what I understand, when they add uniques to that base pool, you can re-add uniques that are already in it. So even though they added that like 600 number, it could have been like all like Quill Rains. I don't think it is all Quill Rains, but you know,
Because there's multiple colors.
Quill Rain has the transgender flag foil. Yes.
Yeah. There's multiple submissions that have the same item. That's like when they were talking about how the PoE community is shit for the PoE community because like people are just adding random bullshit to the void keys just to dilute it.
Yeah. Yeah, the void key is pretty bad. I think it costs money to add stuff to it, and I think Lighty himself.
Is that similar to the divination cards?
I think so.
Is that part of a supporter package somewhere?
Yeah, and I think Lighty even did the math. According to him, if you take every single one that's in the pool, it came to like $3.5 million. If you paid for every single edition.
Yeah.
It's like, it's insane because there's a lot in that pool. It's so diluted, it's not even worth doing anymore. But yeah, there's a back to what I was saying is there's a handful of replicas that I think are going to be good. What's that Brotherhood amulet? What's the amulet, Meef? I think you know probably. It's Badge, yes. There's a replica badge. Yeah, replica badge of the Brotherhood. I don't see it on the wiki, but that one was added, and I think it's switched around. I think
I got it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I'll link it to you.
Sorry, I had my headset on. I had to step away for a second. Yeah, badge of the Brotherhood.
Yeah, it's changed it up a little bit. It's like Frenzy and Endurance now. I think it was Power, right? Power and Frenzy?
Frenzy and Power. Now it's Endurance and Frenzy.
Yeah. And people were looking at that one saying that might be worth some money. It might be worth farming. So
it could be good if like you said, melee builds have a hard problem with being able to phase tank a lot of stuff. Like stacking up to like 10 extra endurance charges, that could be a big deal.
Yeah.
You're hitting a 90% cap on physical damage reduction, right?
Yes. It's like a lot of people still armor stack on things like that, but there's something to do. Like not all damage types are equal, I guess. So when you're using things like what's the coil that everybody uses, that chest?
Yeah, the one that changes to lightning.
Yeah, that's just like a further mitigation.
Lightning coil?
You would still be at lightning coil. So you could still be at like a 90% fizz, but You
Yeah.
know, if
And
you
then
further
go even
mitigate
further,
it
yeah.
through your other resists, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's. Huh.
Call 'em in, boys.
I'm looking at Replica Covenant. I'm not sure. I might be wrong on that. The change wasn't.
Replica Covenant. Hang on.
Yeah.
Now the ball's in Zoidberg's court.
Well, it changes it to cold, a cold gem, but it adds a tag. It adds a line at the bottom that might be problematic.
Skills gain a base energy shield cost equal to 200% of base mana cost. However, comma, if you're attacking, because socketed gems are supported by added cold damage, if you're attacking, or if you're using a permanent minion, you can easily Elrion jewelry your way down to a 0 cost.
True.
Spells are going to be really hard, and that's by design. But permanent minions, you could stand there and like pull out your. But permanent minions are kind of a joke. But if you're attacking like lightning arrow, something like that, then you can Elrion jewelry that away and completely nullify it.
Oh.
Increased energy. Oh, that's on it. 29 added cold. You know what bothers me, because that would have been really freaking sick, is that when they got rid of Prophecy, they got rid of one of my favorite bows. And I'd love to see that come back. It was the bow that the current one is a chance for your weapon to do 100% of a random element.
No, it's still in the. Are you talking about prismatic?
The Prophecy version of it was 100% chance to do each element.
Oh.
No, bow, not gem.
No, I just typed in prismatic.
It was Doomfletch Prism and Doomfletch something.
Doomfletch's prism.
Yeah. The Prophecy version. So what's that tag say? Gain 100% of weapon damage as extra damage of each element.
Yeah.
It was what can you scroll down? What was the Oh yeah, that is drop disabled. Okay, yeah. So 110% of weapon damage as extra damage of each element. Yeah. So any flat damage you had was times 3 or something like that. I can't remember, but it basically made all your flat damage extremely high, all elemental stuff. And the one that's still in the game, Doomfletch, is just 100% weapon damage of one element.
It says each element.
Hang on. Oh,
No,
I'm in.
I think they combined them. I think it's Doomfletch regular is now the prism that you think it is.
Each element. Doom. What?
Yeah, it's always.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I don't think it changed. I do think this is, maybe I'm wrong. This one I don't think is rare drop. I think this one's actually easy to get.
This is an alk. It is. It's an alk. I can't remember the guy's name, but I need to delete the character. Me and him were messing with that bow. We went like tornado shot and flat damage. So like the helmet with the added 40 to 60 fizz and stuff and steel rings and whatnot. But this is back when LE Reflect was still a fear. It was harder to mitigate.
Yeah.
Then he took the build that was already tornado shot and made it traps. So he had no worries. He just ran around and threw traps and they just mopped the floor.
Yeah. Yeah.
But something like that with
Awaken. Now that we have Awaken gems, though, it's a lot easier to get immunity to spell reflect or elemental reflect, because all you got to do is get awakened elemental damage with attacks, and it makes you immune to reflect.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you just got to get it to level 5.
Wow.
So last thing, what are you guys starting? Cyclone falling zombies?
A character with this name already exists. It's Raining Men.
Oh, you knew damn well. I still wanted to rewrite the lyrics to that and send it to Gazzy and see if he would do a cover of that, because he used to be in a metal band and used to have the growling voice. Like that's how he sang. Like he was in a metal band and did that shit. I was like, dude, you should do It's Raining Men, but with that fucking growl. But every single YouTuber I saw that reacted to the patch notes and the Affliction trailer, every single one of them started singing that damn song as soon as they saw zombies falling from the sky. Every one of them. Meef, you said you're doing. Did you say lightning arrow? Is that what you're gonna do?
I did that last leg. I'll be doing SRS Guardian this time around, and then for my transition build, I'll probably be going into accuracy stacking jug.
Oh, that's. Would you really call that a transition build? I would consider a transition build something that you could take your character and transition it to.
Well, I guess we're second character, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Second character. I'm just doing League Starter until I can fund that, and then we'll swap to accuracy stacking jug. I'll probably be doing the tornado shot version instead of like the replica dream feather route.
Did you look at the new transfigured tornado shot?
Yeah, it's for the best. I think it's definitely nice not having to rely on getting that enchant to feel like you're actually doing something.
Oh no! Regular tornado shot now has +1 projectiles baked into the quality. That's just the regular one.
Are you talking about the one that rains down kind of like toxic rain?
Yeah, now there's a transfigured version where it's called Cloudburst, and you shoot into the air, so you don't get the initial attack. So hopefully the damage has to have been increased. Otherwise, it would be like I'm just now shooting into the air and not hitting anything anymore. But I guess
I'm not sure. It's gonna. I think it'll have to play like a totally different skill, because I mean, tornado shot is just tornado shot. Like you go that for a specific reason, and outside of having some kind of modifier that makes it better, it kind of seems like it's changing the skill to be something completely different. Mm-hmm. So we'll have to see how good it is.
Yeah.
Did you see? Because we were talking about it earlier, I don't know if we mentioned it, but they said how many choices you get in each lab.
I did not. I think it varies based on the lab difficulty.
Yeah, it's in the FAQ.
Oh.
I just had it. Yeah, normal 1 craft and 2 options, cruel 1 craft 3 options, merciless 1 craft 4 options, eternal 2 craft 4 options, gift of the goddess 8 craft 4 options.
Oh, Jesus. so that's how they utilize the upgraded labyrinth tokens now. Yeah. So there is a use for them. There's a reason. They did nerf the loot drops though, because some of the most expensive gems in the game come from Labyrinth, and they made sure to let you know they no longer drop from the Labyrinth trove at the end of the lab. So even if you transfer, like you can trade shit in for just getting keys to open up those boxes, you can't get any of the lab uniques anymore out of them. You have to get it from the goofy side things on the way there. So a lot of grand spec.
Yeah, we no longer get them out of the. That's weird.
Yeah, they nerfed technically they nerfed the drop rate of the Grand Spectrum jewels. But people will be running lab a lot now, so we'll see what happens.
Well, at the same time, like I said, it's going to be so easy to get, because how many transfigured gems are you going to use per build? Most likely just one. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be pretty easy to just to go buy your gem. Versus before is expensive as fuck if you wanted an enchant.
Yeah. Well, there's also the I don't know if it's going to be rare, but the possibility of getting the not transfigure, but transmute, whatever you want to call it, to an exceptional gem. So it'll be easier for people to get enlighten, empower by doing the lab as well, because you can just take a red gem and throw it in there and get empower back. But I don't know if that's going to be common or if that's a rare option, because they did display that. They showed that.
It's probably rare, but it's still going to make empower a lot easier to get. Because now the only option is luck or a divination card set, right?
Yeah. Good old div cards, the savior of everyone. Give me a div card for everything.
Better than other games.
True. I mean, you can technically farm a Mage Blood if you want to spend the entire league doing nothing but Crimson Temple.
Oh, that's something we kind of talked about earlier. Is people doing the same thing over and over, and it like Spishak, for instance. When he played, I was watching him. He's like, "Oh well, I guess this is like the thing to do, and this is what to do." And what he was doing was running that one map, Spider whatever, for nurse cards, or it was before the nurse card, so it was for the
doctor
it
card.
was a doctor card in one of the maps, and he was archer with increased item quantity and crit damage, and that's all he did all day. Every time I popped into his stream, he was running god awful map, and like this is everybody says this is how to get money, and I'm just like, dude, this isn't Destiny. This isn't some other game where you have to drive to for the chase item, because like that's what other games are. There's like a few chase items, and that's it. That's the game. You're done. I'm like, dude, there's so much to this bloody game, and you're sitting here suffering. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, dude, go drop your credit card on a shady website. I could get you a headhunter. Like, if that's the only thing that matters to you, that is bloody silly.
That's another thing too. Is there's a handful of chase items, and it's not even just about that. It's like, sure, burial chambers. It came back this league, so I'll be hitting up burial chambers in Crimson Temple, but I'm not going to do it the whole time. I'll be like, you know what? Right. I could do this boss over here, or I could go farm the new mechanic. It's really fun. I just
got a cool free craft on my bench. I'm going to add some scarabs and give it a shot a few times.
Yeah,
but the people that see this game through the lens of the standard that other games have set, they think that games like this, loot games, oh well, best loot in the game, I'm going to shoot for the top and that's it. Like, that's not even the best. It's a chase item, but let me introduce you to Mirror Tier.
Yeah, like the crafting.
What are you doing? You could be having fun and gaining currency. You want to try that?
Here's another thing too.
Because other games, you don't get that. You can farm the absolute crap out of 90% of the content in another game, and it's not going to get you 1% closer to the end. You have to be doing the one raid where the item drops, and that's it. That's the entire game.
Yeah, and to piggyback off the idea of diversify your portfolio and fucking do other shit. Here's another good one. I don't know if you guys know this. This is kind of mentioned somewhere in the patch notes. So Ultimatum had come back, what was it, last league or the league before, in a very, very butchered fashion. And that was, there were 4 zones, Delve Boss, Adziri, what was that, the tier 16 map that you have to corrupt to get.
Beachhead.
And was it Beachhead? I don't think Beachhead.
Or the Vol Temple?
Vol Temple. And
used to be the only tier 16 map.
Yeah, it used to be. Those would give you tokens that you combined 4 tokens into a map, and that map allowed you to fight the boss. Well, that doesn't exist anymore in the sense that it doesn't make a map. It now makes a jewel, and they have not spoiled that jewel. That jewel, the way it sounds, is going to be random modifiers. It's going to be one of those things where there might be it might have powerful modifiers on it, but you're going to have to keep farming for it. So there might be another thing to farm now. Is like, if this is a powerful jewel and it's got like a modifier that's worth seeking, you can do all 4 of those other things of content to try to farm for the map device pieces to make this new jewel. So there's another thing added to the game that diversifies what you can do in the end game. And so like there's that. There's so many mechanics that are so enjoyable if you focus on them. Like, I love Legion. Legion's a great mechanic.
Speaking of, so you're doing heist. Are you going to be focusing on a specific league mechanic, Meef? Or is that up to how fun the new one is?
I'm probably going to be doing the new one just because it's kind of like a Sentinel thing where it's just going to add to your current map.
Yeah.
But I'm probably going to be doing heist just to help funnel Roger's stuff so he can heist harder, faster.
Nice.
And then I'll probably end up in Ultimatum at some point, but
I really enjoyed the simplicity of Abyss.
Abyss?
Yeah, Abyss is probably another one I'm going to be starting to.
Abyss is a good one too.
It was easy fucking money for my level of play and just getting those belts and selling them, and
well, not only
quick since the change.
Not only the belt, but now that minions look like they're going to be at least relatively powerful this league, or coming back, so to speak. A lot of the Abyss Jewels are going to be excellent to farm. You might even want to spec into the one modifier that makes six corrupted Abyss Jewels with 6 modifiers drop and shit like that.
That was a huge appeal to do. That's the whole reason I went Abyss, and then I realized, or maybe it was for the unique jewel I needed. I can't remember the whole reason I went Abyss, but I'm glad I did, because you start getting those 6 corrupted jewels, and they're massive potential right there.
Yeah,
already you can get a few div on a jewel with 2 affixes, or because of 2 affixes. Now you're looking at a pool of 6.
Yeah, you can get some great stuff through that. When it comes to the mechanics, and this is just a suggestion, this is also mainly to me, because he already said he was going to put a little bit into Heist. All that really you guys need to do, if you do want to spec anything into Heist, is 1, obviously don't block Heist, so don't turn it off. And 2,
I fully spec'd. I even blocked it.
Yeah,
100% for life.
100%. Don't do that.
Anything with Heist, I took that node. You know how many people probably do that?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Their friends are like, "Yeah, bro, if it says Heist, pick it up." I haven't got a single one, man.
I haven't seen Heist. I don't even get rogue markers anymore. What the hell's going on? It's like you have it turned off. But the only node that I suggest, if you guys go to that side of the Atlas, it's on the left side, is to take the node, unless they changed it, that gives you the opportunity that blueprints drop fully revealed. That's the only thing I care that would help, is that you could do that, and anytime you get a blueprint, and the blueprints are now ambiguous.
Maps, right?
Yeah, in maps. So when you're doing maps or anything, they have a chance of being fully revealed, which means no cost for unlocking anything. It's just a fully revealed, and they're ambiguous now. They don't have specific types of Heist contracts anymore. So blueprints are all just, here's a blueprint, and it's just a specific area that you're going to do, and the end of it is just anything in Heist can drop. So that would be the only thing.
I just kind of put an idea in my head. You said, I don't know if they changed it, and you can't open up your Atlas until you unlock your Atlas.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can't open it up. Yeah, you can't open it up while leveling because, content overload. But what if they made a leveling Atlas, or changed the Atlas to affect everything, not just maps?
That'd be interesting. I don't know how they would go about it.
Like, you get some points just by leveling up, and some nodes that, like a starting area on the Atlas, that you get a few nodes to affect how you're leveling.
I would say, the base game should probably just stay the same for what it is. Like, the leveling thing is just more of a tedium for people than anything else at this point. Like, people really aren't going back to do specific things. Like, unless you're trying to do...
you wouldn't be going back for it. It would just sort of help you push past it. But then at that point, it would be mandatory to respec.
The only thing I could see that they could do that would be an easy route would be having like a node on the Atlas tree that says Keurig missions are affected by your Atlas tree.
Yeah.
Like, that could be a good fix. And that's really basically the same thing. You're still mapping, but at least it makes your Keurig missions be able to be more targeted. Like, so then you can get like, oh, now I have a Keurig mission to go do a harvest or something, but you take it and none of your nodes work, so it's like, why are you even doing it?
Yeah, one of the issues, if it didn't have any kind of starting area or something like that, like you guys are talking about, if it was just the regular Atlas, there's league mechanics that you could reach that would be ineffective because they don't exist in the campaign. Like harvest doesn't exist.
I'm saying. They'd have to give you a little bit of a starting area, but that'd be moot because people would obviously spec out of it when they got to max level. Yeah. But I wish there was more ways for a new player that I feel like a lot of people, especially with this game being on console, just sort of install a game and start playing it without going and Googling shit. And as a new player, this is a boring as fuck game.
That's a point that I was going to...
is getting to, like, if they think the entire game is leveling, like most games out there, they're not coming back, no matter what their friends try to tell them. They're like, no, I played it, it's trash. and they never even got to mapping or
Yeah,
the atlas.
that was a point I wanted to make earlier, but there really wasn't good a transition for it. But when we're talking about players and just like the caliber of where people are at, or things that pertain to new players versus people who have like a better idea of like able to follow guides or whatever, just the player caliber. There's people that play this game that don't consume any outside content for the game whatsoever.
Right.
So, I mean, those people are probably more rare than not, but it's probably a higher number than you'd expect.
Right.
So, like people that are actually even just watching a Zizaran video for the new league just one time, that's all they watch. There's people that don't even do that. So, people that like deep dive in POB and things like that, watch videos of like Steel Mage going through like a million different POBs and changing out gems and swapping things in and out to min max stuff. There's people that that's so beyond their comprehension for what they understand for the game that they just completely just black it out. Like it just doesn't even exist on the radar for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing is, like with PoE, it's like it's developed so long that there's just so much content in the game that it just feels so overwhelming to new players. There does need to be like a better baseline of kind of like an in-game help for stuff, but I think that they kind of just backseat that because it's just more development they have to do, and there's already content creators that put out videos and guides for things like that. It's kind of like if somebody needs to go figure out how to do something, they're just going to go Google it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So other games, a lot of single player games do this as a to solve that exact problem. Is when you start the game, your character is like a battle veteran, and he's got his max level skills and weapons, and you play out a mission, and then at the end of the mission, you get kicked out of your unit, or you almost die, and you lose all your memory, and you have to like get your powers back, and you're back to like level 1 basically. And even if they added just a new player experience where you get to choose like 5 different archetypes with max gear, and it's like, oh, here, go play a map, and it's like, did you enjoy that? Would you like to play a different archetype? That would be so huge for player retention, and it wouldn't hurt anything. It's just a tutorial, but there's nothing like that. You start on the beach, and it's like you can pick up that wand. Like, oh, gee, mister, thank you. Like they put more effort into April Fools than they have the new player experience.
Oh, you don't
because
like
there isn't a new player experience.
You don't like the Resident Evil style zombie that pops up right when you talk to the first person? Oh God. So I just crashed and now I'm back in queue.
Woo!
Oh, dude.
You might as well go play a Guild Wars or something. League's over.
Yeah, we'll see you next league.
We already got Headhunter.
But yeah, like even like looking at Spish, like to him, the end goal was like you just farm to get Headhunter.
Yeah.
But what happens when you reach up to the counter and grab the cookie? What do you do then?
Yeah.
You got it, but now
Whoa.
what?
Yeah.
So like a lot of times when people get to that point, they don't even realize that they've already been done with the game for the entirety of their time playing it because there's just nothing to do after that. So for me, that's one of my biggest issues because like I just see the writing on the wall. Like if I'm gonna farm, like my goal is like I need to get Mage Blood. It's like you get it and then what? Like so if I'm not gonna do anything with it, why the fuck am I even putting the time into getting it in the first place? Like I don't need that. Just so much time that I could just be doing something else or not doing something else or whatever the case is. But
yeah, it's why they're called luxury items. It's literally nothing you really need. It's the fucking Lamborghini and wow, you got it. Whoopty shit.
Yeah.
You put it in your garage with your 2,000 books.
Knowledge.
But for me, like, and this is a thing that kind of excited me about this league is now it's not just, oh, I want to farm and try to make currency. It's like, I'm going to see what kind of builds come out. And then if somebody doesn't really mess with something, maybe I can try myself burning arrow of vigor fucking totems. I don't know. Just come up with something. This is my entertainment. That's why I play it so heavily.
Yeah. I haven't played totems. Do they scale way higher in health than player?
Oh yeah, yeah they do. But like the gem says 24% of your health, and if you were doing like say a typical ranger build, you're looking at like what 3,500 to maybe 4,500 health. So let's say on average about 4K health. So you're doing around 1,000 straight damage, base damage. So like that just seems like it's very easy to scale. There's a lot of totem life stuff you can get. There's totem life you can get on jewels and gems or jewels.
Yeah, those are the jewels I throw away. Yeah.
Yeah. What if totem life on
gem? Cheap as shit.
Can you imagine though? What if totem life on your jewel that used to be a meme becomes like the most powerful fucking stat in the game because of that one skill?
Are we sure that's how it would work? It would scale off the totem? Like that's how it should because totem is you.
I don't know for a fact. I haven't seen anything that mentioned it. I haven't seen anybody even mention that being a totem build. Right, I'm sure somebody has, but I don't know. It'd be neat to experiment with. The only problem is trying to, figure out if you would want to do Elementalist or just do the totem build. Like, I don't think of the Ranger totem builds or not Ranger, but it would be Pathfinder totem builds would be worth it because they're usually the caustic arrow or the toxic. You're looking at poison stuff, which is where tinctures come in. Tincture is a big thing that people are thinking about this league. I think the tincture that they were talking about is all your damage can poison. So you have one of your flask slots is now a tincture that just makes your everything poison. So
where are the tinctures coming from? Is that the new league mechanic?
Yeah, it's the new league mechanic. It's a replacement for a flask slot.
And just has a passive on it, or did you have to activate it?
I think it's just a passive. I think it's just a passive.
I think they're just passives.
Wow.
And it's also set up so that the micro distillery belt
the guy you play with all the time.
Micro distillery belt got a buff. It's a heist rare that drops. And that it's 30% increased flask effects, but you can't use your 5th flask. And what's been talked about is that the tincture could just replace that flask. Yeah.
Right, because this says you can't use it. But if a flask were to have a passive, or a tincture, anything in that slot were to have a passive, that would jive really well. I wonder if they'll allow it.
We'll see. I'll be farming heist.
It's always like when you come up with something, you're like, okay, did you mean for this, or are you about to nerf it? Because I'm having fun. My alarm bells are going off.
Yeah. So we'll see.
In typical Driz manner, starting with one of the weakest skill gems in the game.
But I'm gonna continue streaming. I don't know if you're gonna stream Driz, but
I might not. I gotta leave in like 3 hours.
Yep. I'm gonna close the stream, but only for this part, so that I can download this and upload it to YouTube later. And then I'll just
kill my cam here.
Yeah.
I recommend, we were talking about this earlier about bots and stuff. I recommend just like going to Streamlabs and enabling